The year was 1999. I was 11 years old, and it was New Year's night. I remember hearing about something called Y2K. I don't know what it was, but I was told that the world was going to end that night. I know, when you're 11, you believe anything. So when I was 11 years old, I thought that the world was going to end that night. I was terrified. And to make matters worse, I remember looking up to the sky and seeing this like hazy circle around the moon. And I thought to myself, in my 11-year-old self, it's done. It's over. And I was with my family and we were hanging out and we had some friends over. And I remember getting to the countdown. I was like, 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year. And I was okay. Nothing happened. Nothing changed. The only thing that really changed in my mind was going from writing 1999 to 2000 on all my workbooks. That was the only change that in my mind I experienced. 2019 to 2020 seemed the same, right? It was just a normal year. We went into the New Year's. We're excited. It's 2020. We're here. Until March. At the point of March, it felt like everything changed, and what we knew that was normal was gone. 2020, the year of vision, was now this year of division. It was this year of isolation, separation. It was what seemed like it was going to be just an interruption of our normal, became this disruption that stuck. It was our new normal. Watershed, you need to know that people have said this for years, that the only constant in life is change. And there is no stability in the world. Everything is constantly changing around us. But here's what I want to encourage us off today, starting off 2021. Here's how I want to encourage you. There are 3 things I believe that never change. And the first one is this: the first unchangeable that we can build our life on, these realities of these unchanging realities, are things that I'm going to challenge us today to build our lives on, to really press into the very core of who we are. The first one is this: God's word will never change. For the last 2,000 years, the Bible has survived persecution, decay, war, famine. People try to squelch what the Bible is, and yet it is by the providence of God survived for us and the world to know the knowledge of the truth. We know that God's word is living and active, sharper than 2-edged swords. That is insane if you consider it. We also know that God's word, together with His Spirit in us, are the only things that can bring about true, everlasting, good change and transformation. We also know that God's word teaches about itself that it is breathed out by God. Think about it. The Bible that you have that sits next to your bed, that word that we read from in church, think about it. It is breathed out by God. It is His very nature and character on display. The word also says about itself in Psalm 119 that it is a lamp to our feet and a light to our path. In other words, God's word helps you and I illuminate where we are right now and ultimately gives us guidance towards where He is calling us to go. God's word is filled with encouragements and challenges, corrections and rebuke, but God's word is also filled with promises. Watershed, I want to share with you some of those promises that are for us today. If you are a believer, regardless of what's happening around the world, regardless of the change that is constantly beating our lives down, listen to these promises that we have because of Jesus. Let me read them to you. This is what God says to you and I today in the midst of the craziness that is change. Listen to this. God says that I will be with you. I will protect you. God says that I will be your strength and I will answer you when you call to me. I will provide for you. I will give you peace, and I will always love you. Watershed, we can absolutely believe these promises for us today because they are fulfilled in Jesus. Jesus is with us. He is our protection. He is our strength. He is the answer to our prayers. He provides. He gives us peace that only He can give. And He is the one who is the lover of our soul. I don't know why I said lover. That was weird. But I'm going to keep going. Outside of those promises, another unchangeable that we can build our life on today in 2021 is this: God's character. Not only will His word never change and His promises never change, neither will His character. The Westminster Shorter Catechism, question number 4 says, what is God? And I'm going to answer it for you right now. It says this. This is brainier people than me. These are people who studied God's word from beginning to end. They've studied church history. And listen to what they answer that question with. They say this: God is a spirit, infinite, eternal, and unchangeable in His being, wisdom, power, holiness, justice, goodness, and truth. In other words, Watershed, God cannot and will not change. And here's the deal. Instead of looking to creation for stability, we need to look beyond creation and we need to fix our eyes on the Creator who does not and cannot change. If everything around us is turbulent, we're on these seas of turbulence, we need to look to Him who ultimately never changes. He is the peace for our weary souls, overcome by change. Change and the unknown produce a deep fear in us. We've all felt it. But I want you to remember, if God never changes, then we can have security in knowing Him. Along with that, there's multiple other characteristics of God that I want to share with you again. If you are a believer, I want you to hear this. I want you to hear God's character towards you and I today in the midst of 2021, coming out of 2020. We can build our lives on these realities of who God is. Check these out. He is faithful. He is compassionate. He is good. He is holy. He is love and mercy. And He is powerful. That is the character and the nature of our God towards us in the midst of what is going on around us. I'll make this final statement on that point. Even when you can't see the Lord's hand, you can always trust the Lord's heart. You might not always understand what's going on around you. You might not understand the change that you're experiencing. Coming into this new year, you might not even know what tomorrow holds. What's gonna change this time? What's gonna happen? And we have all these unknowns. We don't always see what He's doing. Here's where we can take hold. That even when we don't understand or don't see, we can always trust His heart towards us. And His heart is nothing but goodness and kindness, love and mercy. And the last point is this, and this is where I want to really just drive this point home. If His word never changes, and if His character never changes, then the reality is this. This is the final point that will never change: the hope that we have in Him. We as a people are prone to put our hope in a multitude of things that never come through. Think about it. We put our hope in things that make promises, but always under-deliver. We believe that the next time will work out, or we'll get it right the next time, when we put our hope in the next thing, or the next thing, or the next thing, and we always feel left unfulfilled. We never get what we are truly longing for and searching for. It overpromises and underdelivers. The cross and the resurrection has purchased for us a hope that will never fade or spoil. A hope that is eternal and present. It's not just a future reality. It is a reality we can experience today. A hope that is an anchor for our souls in the midst of the turbulent seas of change all around us. Listen to the hope that we have. We have hope that His promises remain true and unchanging. We have hope that He is working all things together for those who love Him, good and bad. We have this hope that He is building a kingdom that cannot and will not be shaken. We have this hope that Jesus sits on the throne of the universe, that He is Lord of all. He has all authority. He has purchased us from sin and death and hell. And our ultimate hope is that our home is heaven. And you and I today are moving towards it daily. And because of that, we can live today as citizens of our ever-approaching home. A place of no sickness, death, suffering, hardship. Think about it. From when you started listening to this video a couple minutes ago till right now, you are that much closer to being at home with the King of the universe. So Watershed, as you go into your D groups today, and as you consider and reflect on 2020 and catch up with your friends and talk about what you got up to during the Christmas break and talk about your hopes and dreams for this year. Talk about what you're hoping to see happen this year. Absolutely. Let's talk about our hopes and expectations. But what I really want you to press into your heart this year, Watershed, is this. In the midst of change, hold on to these three things that will never change. God's word, God's character, and the hope that we have in Him. We love you guys. We're excited for 2021. Awesome.